Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of the Property Business Podcast. I am absolutely delighted today to have Hafsa Meho on the pod. I've been chasing you down for some time and you are finally on. Hafsa, how's it going?
Really well. Thank you so much for you and John for having me on the
Uh,
podcast today.
and you are in the very cool Regis Canary Wharf. You've been showing
Yes.
the
Shall
photos
I show
where
you
you
the
are.
views? Shall I do a quick oh so my view's better than yours today.
Nice,
Yes,
amazing.
slightly better.
And where are you today, Mr. Woods?
So down in Earlsfield, just been doing a couple of second viewings over on a house I've got just here. I live here as well. Just following this podcast, we're going to hop on the train and go up to Nine Elms for an open house. So
And
an
I'm
open,
seeing you
an
later
open,
on, a
exactly,
broker
an
open
open
house.
Exactly.
Amazing. Hafsa, so we'd love to kind of get to know you and hear about your career and your eXp journey so far. So give the listeners some information about you, where you
Yeah.
live, where you're from, your background. Yeah, tell us about
Yeah,
yourself.
I should give you guys a tour as I can see all of London from here. But I've been born and bred in London. I grew up in central London. Quite fortunate. I grew up in an area called Pimlico, which was very connected. It was lovely. I now live on the edge of London, so I live near Bexley Heath. You know it, it's in Zone 6.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've
So
never been there,
I've
but
kind of
definitely heard of it.
covered. Yeah, you don't usually go that far if you don't need to, but it's a lovely residential area. But I mean, London, I know I like the back of my hand. So it's lovely to be able to work with so many different properties, and you see it grow, to be honest, in front of you, don't you? I mean, I'm in Canary Wharf today, and as soon as you blink, there's a new building that pops up. So it's incredible to see the growth from when I grew up versus what it is today. I grew up in an apartment, and I was on the sixth floor. And back then, that was like a skyscraper, wasn't it? Now you've got 30, 50 floors. So, yeah, it's amazing to see the landscape change.
Amazing. And talk us a bit about your
So
your
you're born
career,
and
including
bred.
where you've
Mm.
worked. Go on,
What
John.
was that, John?
No, I was going to say, so you're born and bred in London, and it must be, you obviously know it like the back of your hand. I was going to say, like, so what's been your career path? What have you followed? Where you obviously are now as an eXp broker, but where did you start? What did you start doing?
Yeah, I suppose it starts from like my university journey. So I studied architecture. So I got my degree, got my master's in architecture. And when I came back to London from university, ironically, I thought I was going to join one of these big high street agents as a that was like a backup job for me. So I was like, I'm just going to be there for a couple of months, then I'm going to go into architecture again, and I loved it. I ended up staying for like five odd years or so, and just worked my way up the ranks. And it's fast paced, and it's actually incredible because I've gone around full circle. I've gone from concepts, designing buildings, designing spaces, to then now letting and selling them. And I think what I understood from that was like there's such a communication gap between designers and those who sell and let things, and the vision that people have. So you find the end user, the client, they're the most important at the end of the day, and how they use things and how they occupy space and what they value versus what an architect values. There's a big communication loop where there's like a bit missing. So it really informed me in a different way. So it opened my eyes to see buildings and spaces in a completely different way. And I think that comes with the passion that I have when I do sell and I do let, because I can really dig in as opposed to just being like, hey, this is a two-bed flat, look at where you are, it's 5 minutes from the station. I'm actually digging into it. Do you appreciate that you have exposed concrete there? And, do you know how valuable this is? And, all these little details that I think a lot of other estate agents kind of gloss over. So for me, it was really interesting. So after I left like a big high street agent, I went back into architecture for a year, and I worked in tendering, a lot of residential projects, worked with a lot of developers and builders. And I think during that process, um, you kind of teach, when you come from a very fast-paced sales background, you're like, it's not enough to just sit in the office or like meet people and go through things very slowly. You want to be out, you want to meet more people. It's very transformational, the job that we do. And I think when you work for a bigger company, you can always build that relationship with your clients. But when you do it for yourself and it's you and it's a bespoke service that you offer, you can really tap into the fact that, it's transformational. It's their home they're moving into. Like, I know how it feels for me when I go back home at the end of the day. It's your peace, it's the place you want to go to, you look forward to it. And, I think sometimes when you work in a high street agent, it's KPIs, interactions, let's get this over the line. And, you miss that real human aspect that makes the whole process what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking at
definitely.
your
I mean, I was going to say just really wide words there, and I think it's something which people forget, that the transactional nature of the business that we all have worked through, you kind of forget you're dealing with human beings. You're dealing just with numbers and a backslapping and a mark on a board and a shout out on a Friday meeting.
Yeah.
It's all just numbers, or celebrating success for your own needs rather than it actually moving someone's home. And in each and every person, we always talk about each and every person has a story behind them. We were talking, James and I, to someone else a couple of days ago, and I was thinking, like, I can remember every single client that I work with, and their journey and where they've gone to. I look back at sort of 10 years in corporate, I couldn't tell you anyone I've worked with. You just wouldn't remember them, because it's just not that way inclined. And I think, what was it that, so you obviously went to, after you worked in high street. What was your main, what drew you to eXp? What were your decision makings around that?
Hafsa on that. So we actually connected in September 2023, which I think was the time when you were maybe leaving Foxes at the time. That's when you went to go and work
Yeah.
for your architecture practice, and then you then reached out to me again, I think about 8 or 9 months later. Yeah, so talk to me about where you went from there, like why you didn't jump into eXp when you first connected, and why you then came back to it 9 months later.
So it's going to sound silly, but everybody follows things in their own way, don't they? Some people do huge spreadsheets and they evaluate 100 different options, and then they're like, this is the one I'm going for. And although I have an element of that, you need it in life, but I do follow my gut instinct quite a lot as well. And there's a million models out there. If you look through all of them, it will take you ages. But I had heard of eXp, I had seen it before I even knew of you guys and the network, and I had kind of explored the option. And retrospectively, I'm so glad that I didn't join when I did, because I didn't understand the power that our network had, and how the structure of the company was. So at the time, I think it was literally 2 days after I handed in my notice at the last estate agency job. I had no new career planned. As you guys know, you work donkey hours, so it's good to get a little bit of a break sometimes, breathe, and then go back into stuff. So I got contacted by the architecture company 2 days later, which was incredible timing. And I think from there, I thought, it was something I had initially tried to get into. I didn't pursue it. Let's give it a try. So I think that's where it kind of derailed me, and I sort of found my way back. And when I did find my way back and I met you, I remember we met in Victoria, and James was incredible, giving me the whole pitch, like, this is why I should join. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I've already joined in my head, but I just want to understand the process now. And I knew, I want to work with James. At the time, John, I hadn't met you yet, but I think
No,
it's
of
the
course
best
not.
decision I ever made, because you guys were so invested in me as a person. Like, you have managers in life, you have people that you look up to, people that train you, people that guide you along a journey. And I'm very grateful to all of them that I've had, because I wouldn't be here had I not met them. But the business relationship that we've developed and the synergy we have between us as well as the rest of the network, I have incredible kind of respect for the both of you. And some of the trust that you put into me as well, right from the beginning. So that's been invaluable part of my journey with eXp. And I think even tapping back into like our transaction versus homes with people, the network that we have and the socials that we do. I remember going to the first one, and there was someone there that I knew from when I had first started as a fresh graduate out of uni in my kind of corporate job. And I remember walking in and he just goes, have some of that. And I was like, oh, I feel back at home.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, obviously, for the guys who are listening, we have the main WhatsApp group for the main network. We then have little kind of downline supportive groups. Obviously, us three are in a WhatsApp group for the onboard. for the regular any support. If I could read out some of the messages that you send to us, how it kind of makes me quite tingly, like knowing that you're smashing it, knowing that you're working your socks off, and knowing that you're achieving amazing results. I'm very proud of what you have achieved. So keep working hard. Looking at your LinkedIn, I didn't. This is the first time that I've looked at it for some time. You've worked in a lot of places. Like you see why you work so hard. You are a grafter, a very professional, very. You come across so well, but you're such a hard worker, and we see that in your results already. So you're now 6 months with eXp. Do you want to talk about your eXp?
It's been 6 months, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well, it says August 2024, so it's even less than 6
No.
months.
Yeah.
Talk about your eXp business so far, how it's gone.
Yeah, it's been incredible, to be honest. I think when I first joined, I was like, I'm gonna try everything out and see what works. And I spoke to so many different people who've been doing it for a few years, some people that have just started, and I explored kind of different marketing methods because I hadn't necessarily, even though I had thought about it, it was a back thought. I didn't actually project or plan, I'm going to be an independent business. Where are my clients coming from? How am I going to do this? So I had just made the decision and jumped straight into it. And so when you start from scratch, it's kind of like, okay, where do I get my clients? And then you have to look at the different marketing methods. And I've looked into, you have the eXp gives you really good guides for that when you are onboarding and training. And you guys have good methods, and your crib sheet as well that you gave me, James, was really useful. But you look at, old-fashioned leaflets, going to local businesses, looking at friends and family, and online marketing, social media, ads. The list goes on. And what I found was the most successful ones, and where everybody tends to get repeat business or expanded business, is actually through one-to-one networking with people and referrals. So I focused my energy there, and I was like, right, in person, when I meet people, generally they have a good impression and they remember me. And I found that even within the first couple of weeks, that's really how I started to get my first instructions. And one person leads to another. Quite weirdly, I was quite skeptical when I would get my first few calls coming in, and they'd be like, "Oh, we found your details." And I'd be like, "Where did you find these?" I haven't done anything yet.
Is this for real?
People do they do find you. And really good news story. I mean, about a week ago now, there was a client who had found me, and I had questions, really quizzed her, like, where did you get my details? This is so strange because it was only a few weeks in. And yeah, we've just agreed a sale on her property. And she worked with several really big high street agents who had told her that her property was not sellable, which I don't think is true to any property in London, to be quite honest. So I think
Wow.
there's two things in life that I've always followed, like persistence beats resistance. You have to really have that mindset that something's going to work out for you, and you have to believe that for your clients as well. You have to understand their motives, what they want, and realistically work towards that with them.
Yeah, and you mentioned networking. Obviously, as you kind of mentioned, we have a proven crib sheet that works. It's a social media, it's data, it's networking. I know that you're in BNI in Greenwich. Your
Yes.
reputation is being spread around the whole of the BNI region. You're doing amazingly well. And then you mentioned networking. Like, how did you target those people that you've networked with? Was it just going through your phone book? Was it a targeted approach, thinking, I'm going to go and speak to an architect because they work in property? Or was it just literally being passionate, telling anybody about what you do? What was your plan for networking, as you said?
BNI has been a huge one, to be honest, because I think upfront is a big commitment. Of course, you have to pay to be part of a member, but the commitment is also ongoing. There's consistency. You
Yeah.
have to be at that meeting at 6:30 in the morning every week without fail. And you have to show up, and you have to be present, and you have to, be passionate about other people's businesses and be genuine. I think that's the most important thing. So when the time comes that they have business for you, they think, right, Hafsa's great. She's competent at what she does. She's a good person as well. Because there's two aspects I always say. You can be nice, and you need to be nice, but you also need to be good at what you do. Because being nice
Yeah.
only gets you halfway there.
Yeah.
There's people and clients I've worked with for years, and they'll pick the worst estate agent, but they get the results done for them. So to be able to have a balance of both is really important. But I think I did tell quite a few people, like, this is what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
As you know, James, you've really pulled me out of my comfort zone with social media, and you're like, be active. be present, show
Yeah, your
people what you're
first. I
doing.
loved your first video. So the one that we're one that's hopefully exchanging this week, Goldcrest
Yeah,
Drive. That was your first video, and you
yeah.
absolutely bossed it. You did an awesome kind of
That was
drone
such a
video.
funny day.
Yeah, I loved it. It
It
was
was like a
awesome.
hurricane. My hair was flying, the wind was blowing. I was like, what? It was like weather forecast. It was so
Yeah,
Thing
funny.
is, that's what people love, the realism. There's
Yeah,
so I think what happens, a lot of people get this imposter syndrome when they look at all of this very slick production, especially on Instagram, and think that that is how it has to be. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you'll look sort of second rate. When actually, most of the best feedback, most of the best engagement I've ever got is from natural, candid video. Of course, I do professional videos. We all do, and I think they have a time and their place. But it's being able to put your personality across because people instruct you, Hafsa. They want
yeah,
to work
yeah,
with you and your personality, and that's the real thing, is that about that personal brand build and about being able to get yourself in front of people. Video really cements that. And also, the good thing with video is that, especially if the content's correct, it's what they call evergreen. It will continue. So people, I get calls from some video content that I've created from 3 years ago, which people read it and listen to it, and then actually, oh, hang on a minute, I'll call this guy. And the
yeah,
same thing with you, and that's what's amazing with the eXp framework, is it allows people to build their own personal brands rather than being a faceless cog in a corporate wheel, or even within
yeah.
a broker as well. I mean, I was a manager at Foxtons for many years, and I don't think, you always think that people know who you are, but the moment you walk out those doors, that's it, you're gone. No one knows you
Mm,
at
mm.
all. I think Hafsa, I think you just had a birthday quite recently. I don't know exactly how old you are, but I know that you're certainly a lot younger than I am. And I think that is there's certainly a message for a lot of people out there. If someone had come to me 10 years ago when I was, in my sort of early 30s, and had said that given the opportunity that is out there now, I would be biting your hand off for it, and be able to put in all of my energy into building my business without the distractions of other things and family and everything else. But you've got a whole massive career ahead of you, and that is an inspiration for a lot of people of your
yeah.
age, because you just mentioned the word comfort zone, and I think people do get stuck in their comfort zone, very much so. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of how you broke out of your comfort zone, and how it's been, and how you felt like that?
Absolutely. I think I am a true believer that, growth doesn't happen from comfort zones. I saw a quote, I can't remember it word for word, but it was something like ships look great at the harbour, but that's not what they're designed. They're not designed to just sit there. They're designed to sail, to go through waves, the waves crashing on them, like see the world. And that's really how I approach life. Comfort zone would have been staying at the high street that I was at. A comfort zone would have been staying in that architecture practice, progressing very slowly, where I wanted the pace to kind of accelerate a lot quicker. So for me, comfort zone doesn't exist. Like, as soon as I feel too comfortable, I disrupt it and I recreate something new. And that's just how I've been. And it's a running joke between like my family and friends, because every day I go home now and I'm like, oh, I was with James, or I don't know, John, or like Ben or Miles or someone, and they're all like, middle-aged men, and they're all like, all your business kind of colleagues are all arranged with families now. And I'm like, but it's great, because to be quite honest, there's very few people of my age at the moment who take that leap. And it's so silly, because it's actually, people think it's such a risk. I think it's actually a bigger risk to do it later in life, when you have family commitments, you've got, bigger sort of people relying on you now. Not to say that nobody relies on me, there is that, but you need to have a bit of faith in yourself. If you know you've achieved it, and you've achieved it for somebody else at these big companies, why don't you do that for yourself? And if anything, since I've gone independent, it's been incredible, because the corporate world is very dog eat dog. Everybody's kind of territorial, they're just out for themselves. But as soon as you go independent, you're actually not an island, you're not just there by yourself. Everyone sort of gravitates towards you, and they're like, oh, we want to work with you. Be that mortgage brokers, home stagers, anybody related to the industry, everyone naturally just wants the support. And
Yeah.
you actually feel like you're part of a bigger team, which a lot of corporate companies say they have teams of this number and that. They're not teams, they're just number of employees, but people don't work together. And I think from a client's perspective as well, because you get handed from one person to another at different stages of your, journey, um, it feels very impersonal. You feel like you have to keep repeating yourself. Whereas, as we know through eXp, you have that personal touch. You're there from the beginning. You do the viewings, you do the sales progression, you hand those keys and a box of chocolate at the end of the tenancy, and you know what that means to them moving in after, a month or so or two of like really pushing and grafting. So to be able to be part of that journey and that it makes a big difference.
And one thing that we forgot to mention, Hafsa, you were a lettings agent at where you worked. You were new to sales. So what you've done is even a bigger achievement, that you've literally learned sales as well. And going on to what you've achieved, I've got your website up here. You've got 15 properties on your website. You have about 6 under offer. I'd say about 77. Sorry, every time that you message me, another. And
7. Nice.
I think 80% of your 90% of your stock is self-generated. Given where you are, you've helped myself and John on a lot. So, for example, Plimsoll Close, that was my lead. To get from South Croydon to Poplar is quite a long way, where I introduced you on the valuation, did a cool Instagram video. You then handled all of the viewings. You've now sold that, and then you've also helped John for his one over in Greenwich as well. Similar situation. It's too far for John to go to. You've smashed it out of the park. You've done one with Ben Morris as well, down in Kent somewhere.
That was incredible. We had the strategy we take, like, for marketing is completely different. We had one day open house of viewings, had 7 offers come back on that one, and it was sold. We got what the seller wanted and a bit more.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it is. It's hugely incredible. And I think the exciting thing is, coming from lettings, is that I can bring the pace of lettings to sales.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to try out sales, but you've got rigid roles when you're in a corporate company, whereas now you can be very fluid, very flexible. And I told myself, when I come into this, let me focus on sales so I can learn it, I can conquer that, and then I can flip back into lettings, because this is what I know. So that will come a lot easier. And to be honest, it's been incredible. So I think it's been 4 or 5 months now that I've been with eXp. In the first quarter, I had, I think, 4 deals that went under offer. And in January, in 1 week alone, I've had 3 go under offer. And I'm doing lettings now. So with Miles, we've just agreed a let in Whitechapel. And we're also selling for that client. So we can for them both services. So yeah, the pace is there. And I think, a lot of the time if you think about it visually, when you're building the foundations, as we're talking about property, it's ugly. It's a messy job. You have to really excavate, get rid of all the old stuff. You have to start pouring in the concrete, building the foundations. And more often than not, if you're walking past that site, you don't see anything. You think it just looks like a tip. But that's the most important part, because as soon as after that, structure goes up and you begin to really visualize what's happening. And I feel like the first 3 months are really, you have to put in the graft. It's messy. You have to get in there. And then after that, if you maintain the consistency, it just flies up from there.
I think, that's a really good analogy to put it. I think, there's a lot of success being thrown, and it makes it look like it's easy, because you see people that have been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and it is still hard work, but it's a lot easier because things start to come to you. But that first, 6, I didn't get a paycheck in 7 months when I started. It took me a month to get my first instruction. It took me another month to sell it. And then I didn't have any instructions. And then I had to find another one. And, with your sort of meteoric rise that you've had so far, year 1 is all about consolidation and learning the ropes and getting it going. Once you go into year 2 with a pipeline, year 2 for you could very easily be $250,000. And that, when you think about those numbers and you think about what is possible, I remember saying that to Dan Archer in his second year, saying, like, you're going to do 300 grand plus, and he thought I was joking, and he's done it. He's managed to do 300,000 quid in his second year in business. That is absolutely mental. And these kind of numbers are fully achievable. And that's what I find just so exciting, the fact that someone like yourself can just change your life for the better, but also just thinking about what you've got ahead of you. the inspiration to others, the fact that you can start to mentor other people to follow your footsteps and to follow what you've done, and create your own little powerhouse down there in South or in East London, but then also then educate other people throughout the world, whoever your connections are. And I think that's something that I find incredible with eXp, is that the connectivity that we have globally is just absolutely phenomenal. It really is. But no, what you've done so far, Hafsa, is amazing. So you should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah, and then Hafsa has introduced a new lady who's starting soon, Iga Lorek, Barclays sales manager, a very experienced lettings agent and international buying agent. She's based over in Greenwich, so Hafsa is perfectly placed, as you worked in Greenwich, to help her to build her business with your support, my support, and John's support as well. So that's your first introduction. You're building your revenue share organisation as we speak, which is absolutely awesome. How can people get hold of you, Hafsa? If they want to follow you on social media, or if they're clients and they want to use your services to sell, how can they get hold of you?
Yeah, they can contact me directly. I mean, social media, on Instagram, it's Hafsa _ the key agent. But I mean, through the website, you've also got my number, my email, WhatsApp. Pretty easy. We've got clients all over the world, so anytime, 24/7. So always here.
We'll be uploading this to the podcast. It'll be on the YouTube. Feel free to share it. Obviously, if you are thinking about making a move and you want to have a conversation about how to do it, Hafsa is definitely your port of call. If you're sat on the fence, listen to this lady. She knows what she's doing. She took the plunge and is now reaping the rewards. So well done. Amazing.
Thank you. And thank you both, because you've been incredible support. And, messages I would get at random times, just more motivation. And I'm like, I love these two, honestly.
Honestly,
Hafsa. I needed.
Yeah, it's an absolute honour to be in partnership with you. I love what you're doing. We love supporting you. We love seeing you not just grow, but absolutely smash out of the park. Yeah, keep up the hard work, and we're here every step of the way for you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Well done.